Elias Mitchell used to believe his life was everything he had dreamed of. A stable career as a software engineer, a house in a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside Los Angeles, and a wife who was adored by millions online. Maribel Carter Mitchell, his Maribel, was a rising influencer who built her brand around the perfect marriage. Together, they ran a popular YouTube channel called Forever Goals, where they posted morning routines, couples Q&A sessions, and vlogs filled with sunshine and laughter. To the outside world, they were the embodiment of love and success. But behind those perfectly edited videos, something had begun to crack. Their mornings were no longer filled with laughter. The smell of freshly brewed coffee that once brought them together now lingered in silence. Maribel sat by the window, scrolling through her phone, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the screen. Elias would glance at her from across the table, searching for the warmth he used to find in her smile. It wasn't there anymore. She still performed affection when the camera was rolling, holding his hand, kissing his cheek, but when the red light turned off, so did her tenderness. He told himself it was just stress. Maribel's career was growing fast, and brand deals demanded constant perfection. Maybe she was just tired. But the distance between them was no longer something he could explain away. Every conversation felt scripted, every laugh rehearsed. He noticed the way she would angle her phone away when notifications popped up. The way she started staying up late after he'd gone to bed. The more Elias tried to bridge the gap, the more invisible he felt. He cooked her favorite meals, brought flowers home on Fridays, even helped her edit videos when she was overwhelmed with deadlines. She would thank him with a distracted smile and return to her phone. Their life together had become a performance, a series of scenes carefully framed for social media, where reality had no place. On camera, Maribel called him, the love of my life. Off camera, she called him, E. It used to be affectionate. Now it sounded like a placeholder. One Sunday morning, as they prepared to film a new, couple morning routine, Elias caught his reflection in the bathroom mirror. He looked tired, older somehow. His once sharp eyes seemed dulled by confusion and quiet heartbreak. He wondered when he'd started to feel like a guest in his own marriage. Maribel appeared behind him, radiant in her white robe, hair curled perfectly, holding a cup of oat milk latte for the shoot. "Ready, babe?" she asked with that familiar influencer smile. "Yeah," Elias replied softly. He turned to face her, trying to catch a glimpse of the woman he fell in love with, the one who used to laugh at his stupid jokes, who once cried when he surprised her with a weekend trip to Yosemite. But her eyes were elsewhere, already rehearsing lines for the camera. As the camera blinked red, she leaned into him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "See, guys," she said in that bright, practiced tone. "It's not about perfection, it's about connection." Elias forced a smile, feeling the irony slice through him like glass. Later, as she reviewed footage on her laptop, Maribel's face lit up with satisfaction. "This one's going to do numbers," she murmured. "The algorithm loves authenticity." Elias chuckled bitterly under his breath. Authenticity. The word tasted wrong. That night, after she fell asleep, he stepped into his office, the only room untouched by her decor, by her brand deals, by her version of their life. The walls were lined with shelves of code manuals, small trophies from hackathons, and old Polaroids of simpler times. In one photo, Maribel was wearing no makeup, laughing uncontrollably as Elias tried to cook pancakes. He traced her smile with his finger. He missed that woman. Outside, the neighborhood was still. A few porch lights glowed in the distance, and somewhere a dog barked softly. Elias sat down at his desk, opened his laptop, and stared at the blank screen. He didn't know what he was looking for. Maybe answers. Maybe courage. He thought about how love had turned into content, how affection had been edited into engagement metrics. And yet, he couldn't bring himself to accuse her of anything. There was no proof, only a growing ache in his chest. The next morning, they filmed another vlog, How We Keep the Spark Alive. Maribel wore her favorite pastel dress, Elias his plain white shirt. They laughed on cue, shared inside jokes for the camera, and talked about trust and communication. The video went viral. Comments flooded in. "You two are perfect together. Relationship goals. This is the kind of love I dream of." Elias read them all in silence, each one feeling like a tiny dagger twisting deeper. That night, as he lay beside Maribel, watching her scroll through her notifications with a small satisfied grin, Elias realized something terrifying: they weren't just pretending anymore. Their marriage had become the lie. And for the first time, he wondered what she was hiding behind that perfect smile. It started with something so small, so ordinary, that Elias almost ignored it. A flash of movement on his phone screen, a notification that appeared and disappeared before he could tap it. Maribel had posted a new Instagram story. He wasn't one of those obsessive husbands who monitored every post she made. He had grown used to her constant stream of selfies, brand tags, and morning motivation quotes. But this one felt different. When he opened it, he froze. The story showed Maribel at the gym, her body glistening with sweat under the soft neon lights. She was smiling at the camera, a perfect influencer moment. But the caption below was what caught his eye. "Killer session with at J Hitness, fire flexed biceps, thanks for pushing me harder." Elias frowned. He didn't recognize the name. At J Hitness. It wasn't one of her usual brand collaborators or the trainers she'd mentioned before. Something about the tag felt intimate. The emojis, those careless flames and flexed arms, were subtle, but suggestive in a way that twisted his gut. He tapped the tag. The profile was private, but the bio read: "Personal trainer transforming bodies and minds, LADM for collabs collision." The profile picture showed a man's torso, no face, just muscle and tattoos. A slow unease crept through Elias's chest. That night, during dinner, he tried to sound casual. "So, you've been working out with someone new?" Maribel didn't look up from her salad. "Yeah, just for a brand collab. He runs a fitness program I'm promoting next month." Elias nodded slowly. "J Hitness, right?" She glanced up, eyes narrowing for just a second. "Yeah." "Why?" "Nothing," he said quickly. "Just curious." She smiled then, too quickly, too perfectly. "You're so protective sometimes." "It's cute." He forced a laugh, but something about her tone felt wrong. It wasn't teasing, it was dismissive. Later that night, while she was in the shower, Elias found himself scrolling through her Instagram again. The comments under her post were filled with admiration: "Queen energy, you're glowing, girl, that trainer's lucky to work with you." He scrolled through them all, numb. The idea that thousands of strangers were idolizing a life he knew was fading made him sick. When she came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, steam following her like fog, he asked, "You've been spending a lot of time at the gym lately?" She laughed softly. "Babe, I'm an influencer. That's literally my job now." "I know," Elias said, voice low. "It's just, we barely talk anymore." Maribel walked over, placing her hand on his shoulder, her touch light, rehearsed. "Don't overthink it, okay? Everything's fine." Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a notification before she could grab it. Elias caught a glimpse, just a name, a flash of text. "Jasper H. sent you a video." She snatched it up too quickly, pressing the screen to her chest. "It's just about the brand shoot tomorrow," she said, eyes darting away. Jasper. The name hit him like a cold slap. Jasper Hart. They'd gone to college together, Elias's old friend, once close enough to be his best man. They hadn't spoken in years, not since Jasper's messy breakup and sudden move to Los Angeles. And now, at J Hitness. Elias didn't say a word. He just nodded. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His heart pounded so hard he thought Maribel might hear it. She slept peacefully beside him, phone clutched under her pillow. He tried to rationalize it, maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe Jasper was just helping her with workouts. Maybe this wasn't what it looked like. But deep down, in the quiet dark, Elias knew coincidences didn't look like that. The next morning, she filmed a new vlog. "Today's all about motivation and pushing limits," she announced to the camera. Elias watched her from behind the lens, her energy radiant, her smile wide. But when she glanced at her phone between takes, her face softened in a way he hadn't seen directed at him in months. Later, when she went to shower, he checked her phone again. Locked. A new passcode. The unease turned into something sharper, curiosity mixed with betrayal. He didn't know what was worse, the possibility that she was cheating, or the certainty that she was lying. Over the next few days, Elias started noticing things he'd missed before. The way she dressed for the gym, tighter leggings, new sports bras, fresh perfume. The way she'd hum while texting, her smile private and far away. The way her eyes seemed to light up when she read her notifications, then dim whenever he spoke. One evening, he walked past the living room and heard her live streaming. Her voice was bright, playful, intimate. "Shout out to my favorite trainer for keeping me in shape," she said, winking at the camera. "You know who you are." The chat exploded with laughing emojis and heart reactions. Elias stood in the hallway, watching her through the reflection in the glass. She looked alive. More than she'd looked in months. When the live stream ended, she sighed softly, scrolling through her comments. Elias stepped forward, his voice calm but trembling underneath. "You seem really happy lately." She smiled without looking up. "Yeah. Things are finally falling into place." He wanted to ask what "things" meant. But the words stuck in his throat. That night, he stared at the faint blue glow of her phone as she slept. He remembered the story, at J. Hitness, and the flash of Jasper's name. He remembered how she used to look at him that way. And for the first time, Elias realized something irreversible had begun. The perfect marriage wasn't cracking anymore. It was quietly breaking apart, one Instagram story at a time. The nights grew longer in the Mitchell house, not because the days changed, but because Elias couldn't sleep anymore. He'd lie awake, staring at the faint glow of Maribel's phone as she scrolled, her face half lit by the screen. The sound of soft typing filled the quiet like a whisper. He used to love those nights, when she'd read beside him, humming gently before falling asleep on his shoulder. Now, there was only the sound of tapping keys and muffled laughter she tried to hide. At first, Elias told himself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe she was just texting a friend, replying to comments, managing her influencer schedule. But something inside him, an old instinct, sharpened by years of reading people and debugging systems, knew better. He started noticing patterns. The way she always angled her phone away when he entered the room. How she'd stay up after midnight, her fingers moving quickly, her smile small and private. He once caught her reflection in the dark window, grinning down at the screen in a way that wasn't meant for him. One night, unable to stop himself, Elias pretended to be asleep. His breathing slowed, steady, feigned. Maribel, thinking he'd drifted off, turned to her phone again. He heard the familiar buzz of a message, a small intake of breath, and then, a soft, breathy laugh. She typed for several minutes. The sound of her nails against the glass screen was hypnotic, cruel in its rhythm. When she finally stopped, Elias opened his eyes just a sliver. The phone's light illuminated her face, soft, pink, dreamy. He hadn't seen that expression in months. He waited until she fell asleep before he made his move. Quietly, he reached for her phone on the nightstand. His hand trembled slightly. It was locked, of course. But he remembered something. Years ago, when they first moved in together, he had helped her set up her accounts. She always used variations of the same passcode, anniversaries, birthdays, their wedding date. He tried 0622. Nothing. Then 06222019, their wedding date. Still nothing. She'd changed it. He set the phone back down, his heart sinking. The glow from the screen dimmed, leaving him in a room colder than before. For days afterward, he wrestled with himself. He wanted to trust her. But every time she smiled at her phone, every time she hid a laugh, that trust felt like sand slipping through his fingers. Then, one evening, fate, or perhaps carelessness, handed him what he'd been searching for. Maribel was getting ready for a sponsored live stream. The house was filled with the hum of LED ring lights, her phone propped up on the counter. "Can you grab my charger from the living room?" she asked, distracted, fixing her hair in the camera. He nodded, retrieving the charger, but when he returned, she was gone. The bathroom door clicked shut. The live stream hadn't started yet. Her phone sat there, unlocked, on the counter. His pulse thundered in his ears. He hesitated for a moment, then reached for it. Messages filled the screen. Not with brands, or fans, or sponsors, just one contact pinned at the top, Jasper speech balloon. He tapped it. The chat opened like a wound. Dozens of messages, rapid exchanges, pictures of gym selfies and late-night emojis. Elias scrolled further, his stomach tightening, his breath shallow. Then he saw it. "Jasper, I miss the way you touch me. Maribel, you'll get to feel it soon. He's out of town next weekend." Elias froze. The words blurred before his eyes. His body went cold, but his mind burned. It was real. The lie, the distance, the late-night laughter, it was all real. He put the phone down carefully, as if afraid to break something fragile. He looked around their kitchen, the marble counters, the neatly arranged vlogging setup, the soft golden lights. Everything looked so clean, so perfect, so fake. A minute later, Maribel came out, smiling. "Ready?" she asked, picking up her phone. "I have to go live in 10. He nodded, his voice locked behind his teeth. The live stream began. Her tone was bright and sugary, her laugh effortless. "Hey guys. Today we're doing a skincare Q&A, because you've been begging for my nighttime routine." Elias stood just out of frame, watching her perform. Watching his wife, glowing under ring light, speaking about self-love and authenticity. His chest felt heavy, like something enormous was pressing down on him. She was radiant. And she was lying to thousands of people. After the live stream, she kissed him on the cheek without looking up from her phone. "You're the best, babe," she murmured absently. He wanted to scream. But he said nothing. That night, he sat alone in his office. The message replayed in his mind over and over, "I miss the way you touch me." He'd read that line so many times it was etched into his skull. He stared at the photos of them on the wall, wedding day, honeymoon, first house. They looked so happy, so untouchable. He wondered if that happiness had ever been real, or if it was just another performance for the camera. For hours, he sat in silence, his laptop screen open, cursor blinking. He thought about confronting her. About leaving. About burning it all down. But something in him whispered, "Wait." Elias was a man who understood data, patterns, proof. He didn't want to destroy her with suspicion. He wanted the truth. So instead of exploding, he began to plan. He backed up her cloud storage, recovered deleted messages, checked timestamps, looked into camera placements. Every click, every line of code, was a heartbeat in his growing rage. By the time dawn broke, Elias knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to confront her yet. He was going to confirm everything. Ethan sat in his car outside the office, fingers trembling as he scrolled through his phone. The images from last night were still in his head, his wife's laughter echoing in a stranger's apartment. He wanted to believe it was a mistake. A misunderstanding. But fate didn't let him. A notification popped up. Dropbox, new video uploaded, shared by Sarah. He froze. His heart stopped for a second. Sarah? His wife? He clicked the link. The video loaded, shaky camera, familiar voices. Her voice. And another man's voice, the man she said was just a friend from work. Ethan's throat burned. His mind screamed but his body stayed still. He couldn't even cry. He just watched, his hand gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Then something strange happened, a new message appeared under the video. I told you not to ignore me, Ethan. You took everything from me. Now I'm taking her. He stared at the screen. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a setup. Someone he knew, wanted to destroy him. That night, he went home quietly. Sarah was in the kitchen, acting normal, smiling like nothing had happened. Ethan played along. He smiled back. Kissed her cheek. Then went to the bathroom, locked the door, and whispered to himself in the mirror. If you want war, you'll get one. The next morning, Ethan walked into his office like nothing had happened. To everyone else, he was still the calm, reliable operations manager, polite smile, neat suit, no sign of the storm inside. But behind those tired eyes, a plan was already forming. He started with the basics. He checked Sarah's phone location history. She'd turned off tracking 2 weeks ago. That was exactly when she started coming home late. Then he went through his home Wi-Fi logs. One unknown device had connected several nights in a row, same time, same IP pattern. Whoever that was, they weren't just having an affair. They were leaving a trail. At lunch, Ethan visited Ryan, his old college friend, now a cybersecurity consultant. Ryan took one look at him and frowned. Dude, you look like you haven't slept in days. I just need a favor. Quietly. They sat in Ryan's dark office, screens flickering with code. Ethan handed him a USB drive. Can you trace a Dropbox upload? I need to know who sent me this. Ryan hesitated. You sure you want to know? I don't have a choice. Minutes passed. Ryan's fingers flew over the keyboard. Then his face changed, from confusion to shock. Ethan, this file didn't come from Sarah's account. What do you mean? It was spoofed. The upload originated from someone named Mark Henson. Ethan froze. That name cut deep. Mark, his former best friend, his business partner. The same man who lost everything when Ethan's company deal went through last year. Why would he? Ethan muttered, but then he remembered the message. You took everything from me. Now I'm taking her. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was revenge. Ethan clenched his fists, eyes darkening. All right, Mark, he whispered. You want to play dirty? Let's see how far you're willing to go. That night, Ethan began his own game, secret accounts, hidden cameras, tracking software. He wasn't just the victim anymore. He was the hunter. Ethan barely slept that night. The image of Sarah in another man's arms kept replaying in his head, but now, it wasn't just heartbreak that kept him awake. It was strategy. By morning, he wasn't the same man who broke down on the bathroom floor. He had purpose. Cold, precise purpose. He started his day like usual, coffee, a short jog, a fake smile for the neighbors. But every move he made now had a second layer. The first thing he did was install a hidden camera in the living room smoke detector. Another in Sarah's car, disguised as a small air freshener. By noon, Ethan was sitting at his desk at work, but his second monitor streamed live footage from home. Nothing. Sarah hadn't returned yet. Then he got a notification, car GPS activated. She wasn't at work. She was at the Beaumont Hotel, downtown. His pulse quickened. The same hotel he and Sarah used to go to on anniversaries. He opened the feed from the car camera, static at first, then a glimpse of her adjusting her lipstick in the rearview mirror. Ethan's jaw tightened. So that's where you're going. He didn't drive there immediately. That would be too easy, too emotional. Instead, he called Ryan. I need you to pull security footage from Beaumont Hotel. Today, 2 p.m. Jesus, Ethan. Are you going to confront her? No, Ethan said, his voice steady. I'm going to learn how deep this goes. Hours later, Ryan called back. His tone was uneasy. You might want to sit down for this. He sent Ethan the footage, Sarah walking into the lobby, looking around nervously. Then Mark appeared. Tall, confident, his hand on her back as they walked into the elevator together. Ethan didn't blink. He just watched. Every detail. Every second. So it's you, he murmured. You finally got what you wanted. But what caught his attention wasn't the way Mark touched Sarah. It was the envelope Mark handed her before they went upstairs. Inside? Ethan didn't know, but it wasn't love letters. Something clicked in his mind. This wasn't just an affair. It was a setup. Mark wanted Ethan to find out. He wanted to destroy him, personally, financially, emotionally. That night, Ethan poured himself a drink, staring at the flickering monitor. The man on the screen wasn't weak anymore. You think you're ahead of me, Mark, he whispered. But you just made your first mistake. He copied the footage onto a hard drive, labeled it Phase 1, and locked it in his desk drawer. Then he opened a new document, titled The Plan. And underlined the first line. Step 1, make them trust you again. The trap had begun. And Ethan was done playing nice. Ethan played his part flawlessly. To the outside world, and especially to Sarah, he looked like a man who was trying to move on. He cooked dinner again, left small notes like he used to, smiled when she walked into the room. There was no trace of bitterness in his eyes anymore. Just warmth, calculated, rehearsed warmth. And Sarah, guilt-ridden and confused, began to let her guard down. You're being so kind lately, she said one evening, her voice soft, almost trembling. People change, Ethan replied, giving her a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I guess pain teaches you what matters. She didn't know that while she slept beside him, Ethan was wide awake in his office, illuminated by the cold blue glow of multiple monitors. Lines of code danced across the screen. He had once built security systems for corporations. Now, he was using those same skills to break into Sarah's online life. Her email, her iCloud, her Instagram, the one where she posted their perfect marriage for the world to envy. Within hours, Ethan had full access. Every message, every draft, every secret folder. That's when he found them, the deleted DMs between Sarah and Mark. When he's gone next weekend, come over. I want to feel you again. We'll film something. It'll help our channels grow. Ethan's heart didn't race. He didn't even blink. He just stared at the messages, emotionless. Then he started downloading every image, every video, every audio clip, building a private archive of betrayal. But what truly enraged him wasn't the cheating. It was the performance. Sarah and Mark weren't just having an affair, they were using it for content. The captions, the romantic, workout collabs, the subtle hashtags, it was all staged, crafted to manipulate audiences. Their love affair was another algorithm trick. That's when Ethan decided, he wouldn't destroy them physically. He'd destroy them digitally. He created a new anonymous account, using deepfake tools and editing software. Under the username @TheUnfilteredTruth, he started building a fan page that reposted Sarah's videos, but subtly edited them, frame by frame, to include hidden truths. At first, it was just visual glitches, a reflection in the mirror showing Mark's face, or a shadow of two bodies when there should have been one. No one noticed. But Ethan was patient. Revenge, he believed, should unfold like a slow virus. Next, he scheduled posts. Carefully timed. A week apart. Each one exposing a little more. By the time Sarah hit 1 million followers, the entire system would detonate, publicly, permanently, and without her even realizing it came from him. At 3 a.m., Ethan leaned back in his chair, eyes heavy, but his mind sharp. He opened Sarah's Instagram one last time and changed her password to something only he knew. Justice_2025. He whispered to himself. You wanted fame. Let's see how you handle the truth. Outside, the suburban street was quiet. But inside Ethan's home, vengeance had already gone live, one pixel at a time. For weeks, Ethan worked in silence, like a ghost haunting his own life. By day, he went through the motions, a steady smile, a normal husband, pretending everything was fine. By night, he became something else, a digital architect of destruction. The footage from his hidden cameras, the hotel surveillance Ryan had given him, and the private messages he'd hacked, all of it had become raw material. And Ethan was an artist now, painting revenge in pixels and frames. He opened his editing software and began crafting a masterpiece, a video titled, Behind the Scenes of the Perfect Couple. It started like any other vlog, Sarah laughing, posing, the two of them smiling in slow motion. The lighting soft and golden, the music sweet and nostalgic. Then, halfway through, it shifted. A frame glitch. Then another. Suddenly, the smile froze on Sarah's face. The screen flickered, revealing a flash of Mark's hand brushing her hair. A whisper. A kiss. A murmur caught by Ethan's hidden mic. He'll never know, babe. Just keep pretending. The video cut to black, followed by a single caption. Nothing stays hidden forever. Ethan leaned back, staring at the playback. It was perfect. Raw, cinematic, and damning. But timing would be everything. He knew Sarah had been planning a live stream celebration, 1 million followers, sponsors lined up, live audience engagement. It was her dream moment. And that was exactly when he'd take it all away. He programmed the post scheduler to upload, behind the scenes, during her live stream, precisely 17 minutes after it began, the point where viewership peaked. The upload would appear on her own account, automatically posted from her device thanks to his digital backdoor. The irony made him smile. She'd built her fame on illusion. Now, her own platform would expose her. That evening, Sarah came into the office, makeup half done, wearing the pastel blazer she'd chosen for the big event. Wish me luck, she said softly. Ethan turned, gave her that calm, practiced smile. You don't need luck, Sarah. Just, be yourself. She laughed, kissed his cheek, and left the room, oblivious to the storm waiting in her own code. Once she was gone, Ethan watched her live stream go live. Thousands of viewers flooded in. Comments poured down the screen, your goals, power couple forever, we love you, Sarah. And then, quietly, his finger hovered over the keyboard. Not to trigger the video, the system would handle that, but because, deep down, he was nervous. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was release. 17 minutes. He whispered to himself. Let's show them who you really are. When the clock hit the mark, the upload went live. The screen on Sarah's live stream glitched. Her smile froze mid-sentence. Then the familiar golden intro of her vlog began playing, except she hadn't cued it. Ethan watched as confusion spread across her face on screen. The chat exploded. Wait, what's happening? Is this part of the show? Did you guys see that? The video rolled, the laughter, the kisses, the betrayal. All live. All unfiltered. Millions of viewers. No escape button. And Ethan simply closed his laptop. Outside, fireworks from a nearby event lit up the sky, bright, fleeting, beautiful. Inside, Sarah's perfect world was burning. The moment the video started playing, Sarah froze. For a split second, she thought it was a glitch, maybe her editor uploaded the wrong clip. But then she saw herself on the screen, not smiling in front of ring lights, not posing for brand deals, but kissing Mark in their own living room. The live chat erupted. Wait, is that Mark from her collab vids? She's cheating? On stream? OMG, this is real. The comments flooded faster than she could read. The algorithm pushed the chaos, multiplying the viewers by the second. Within minutes, her live stream went from 1 million to nearly 5 million watching, not for her content, but for her downfall. Sarah's hands trembled. She reached for the keyboard, trying to end the stream, but the controls were locked. Ethan had made sure of that. The video played in full, the laughter, the whispers, the hotel clips, and finally, that damning line. "He'll never know, babe. Just keep pretending." Her face went pale. Tears welled in her eyes, but the camera was still live, catching every second of her unraveling. "No, no, this isn't real, it's fake," she cried, voice cracking. "Someone edited this." But it was too late. The internet had already decided. Screens across the country were filled with her name, trending hashtags exploding. Hashtag Sarah exposed, hashtag fake love, hashtag influencer scandal, hashtag couple goals lie. Within minutes, her sponsors started pulling out. Emails flooded her inbox, "We're terminating our partnership effective immediately." The influencer empire she built on curated smiles and carefully scripted love was collapsing in real time. Across town, Ethan sat in his dark office, the only light coming from the glow of his monitor. He wasn't watching the live stream anymore. He didn't need to. He could hear the chaos echoing across social media, the sound of poetic justice carried through notifications and reposts. He opened a news site, breaking, influencer Sarah Henson exposed in cheating scandal during live broadcast. Her face was everywhere, tear-streaked, humiliated, no filters, no edits. Just truth. For the first time in months, Ethan felt something close to peace. Not joy. Not triumph. Just silence inside his chest where the storm used to live. He poured himself a drink, staring out the window as sirens wailed faintly in the distance, maybe paparazzi heading toward her house. Then his phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "Was that you?" Ethan replied simply. Truth finds its way. Back on the live stream, Sarah's screen finally went black. But the damage was permanent. Clips of her breakdown had already gone viral on TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, millions of strangers dissecting her every word. Even Mark's name began trending, but he was nowhere to be found. His social accounts vanished within hours. Ethan finished his drink and whispered to himself. "You wanted an audience, Sarah. Now the whole world's watching." Outside, the suburban street was quiet again. Peaceful. But inside, the ashes of a marriage, and an empire, still smoldered beneath the blue light of a screen. The morning after the live stream was eerily quiet. For the first time in years, Sarah didn't wake up to the cheerful ping of brand notifications or the buzz of sponsorship requests. Her phone was silent, except for the flood of messages she didn't want to see: betrayal, mockery, pity. Her face was on every trending page. Her name, once synonymous with couple goals, now stood for deception, infidelity, scandal. The internet, which once adored her, had turned into a digital mob. "You deserve it. Liar. Can't fake love forever." The cruel comments came in waves. Her fan base fractured overnight. Sponsors pulled out. Collaborations disappeared. PR agencies ghosted her. Even her management team released a statement: "We were unaware of the misconduct." Sarah tried to post an apology video, voice shaking, makeup free, a trembling version of her polished self. "I made mistakes," she said, her voice breaking. "But I'm human too." But the internet didn't want repentance. It wanted punishment. The apology became another meme within hours. Her subscriber count dropped in real time, 100K gone, then 200K, then 500K. She stared at the number ticking down, like watching her own relevance bleed out. Across town, Ethan sat in his quiet kitchen, coffee steaming beside him. He wasn't celebrating, no champagne, no satisfaction. Just silence. He'd imagined that exposing her would bring him peace. Instead, it left him hollow. He scrolled through the news on his tablet. Sarah's scandal had already spawned hundreds of videos, reaction clips, breakdown analyses. Everyone had an opinion: strangers, influencers, journalists. And in every photo, every frame, Ethan saw something he hadn't expected. Her pain looked real. He turned the screen off and stared out the window. The neighborhood looked the same: quiet streets, trimmed lawns, kids on bikes. But for Ethan, everything had changed. His house felt bigger now, emptier. That afternoon, he drove past Sarah's place, purely out of habit, he told himself. But the moment he saw the street swarming with paparazzi, he gripped the steering wheel tighter. She stood on the porch, surrounded by flashes, face blank, like a ghost trapped in her own tragedy. For a moment, he almost felt sorry for her. Almost. He drove home and sat in the dark. Lydia, his neighbor, knocked softly on his door. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "It's over." She studied him for a long second. "No, Ethan. It's never over." "Not really." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He opened his laptop, found the folder where he'd kept all the evidence, the videos, screenshots, logs. Without hesitation, he selected them all and hit delete. The files disappeared from his screen one by one, like ghosts fading into nothing. He leaned back, exhaled. For the first time, he didn't feel angry. He didn't feel powerful. He just felt free. But somewhere deep down, a quiet voice whispered, "You won the war." But what did it cost? Outside, the suburban street glowed under the soft light of street lamps, peaceful, almost too peaceful. Inside, Ethan sat alone, his reflection flickering in the black glass of his monitor, realizing that revenge had a strange kind of silence. A week passed. The internet had moved on to a new scandal, a new face to tear apart. But for Sarah and Ethan, the silence that followed was worse than the noise. Ethan had avoided social media entirely. He deleted every app, stopped checking his messages, and filled his time with long drives to nowhere, just roads, music, and quiet. Yet no matter how far he went, he couldn't escape the echo of what had happened. One evening, Lydia knocked again, holding a cup of tea like she always did when she had something important to say. "You look better," she said softly. "I'm surviving," Ethan replied. "That's enough." She hesitated for a moment, then pulled out her phone. "You should see this," she said. It was a private Facebook group, women sharing warnings about a man named Mark Hollis. Dozens of posts. Screenshots. Voice notes. Different cities, same pattern. He'd pose as a fitness coach or influencer collaborator, charm women, convince them to create content together, and then exploit them. Ethan scrolled through the posts, his chest tightening. There were photos of Mark smiling with other women, the same confident smirk he'd seen in his own footage. But what caught Ethan's attention wasn't the deceit, it was the tone of the comments. None of the women sounded vengeful. They sounded broken. Manipulated. Used. "He said we'd build something together. He promised me it wasn't real cheating, it was just for views. He made me believe I was special." Lydia sighed. "I think Sarah was one of them, Ethan. She wasn't innocent, no. But she wasn't the only one he destroyed." Ethan stared at the phone, unable to speak. He remembered Sarah's eyes in that last live stream, wide, terrified, lost. Maybe it wasn't just guilt he saw. Maybe it was fear. He sank into his chair, rubbing his temples. "I thought she chose him over me," he said quietly. "Maybe she didn't choose him," Lydia replied. "Maybe she just fell into his trap. People like Mark know exactly who to break." The realization hit harder than he expected. He had built his revenge on the idea that Sarah was the villain. But maybe, in her own way, she was a victim too, of someone who knew how to weaponize trust, vanity, and loneliness. That night, Ethan sat by the window, staring into the suburban darkness. The same house lights flickered in the distance, the same hum of crickets outside. Everything looked unchanged, yet inside him, something had shifted. For the first time since it all began, he didn't feel anger toward Sarah. He felt understanding. He opened his laptop and found the last remaining file, the original copy of the exposé video. His finger hovered over the delete key for a long moment. Then, finally, he pressed it. Gone. The next morning, Ethan wrote a letter, not to send, but to release what was left inside him. You hurt me, Sarah. But I see now you were hurting too. Maybe we both just got lost chasing something fake. I don't hate you anymore. I hope one day, you find something real. He folded the paper, tucked it into a drawer, and walked outside. The air felt lighter. For the first time in months, he wasn't carrying the weight of betrayal or revenge, just truth. Sometimes, freedom doesn't come from revenge. It comes from understanding what broke you, and choosing to let it go. 3 months later, the leaves in Washington had begun to turn. The air was crisp, the skies low and gray, that soft kind of melancholy that made everything feel still. Ethan stood on the balcony of his small apartment in Seattle, watching the rain bead along the railing. The city was nothing like the quiet suburbs he'd left behind. It was louder, rougher, more alive. And for the first time in years, that felt like what he needed. He had sold the old house, shut down his social accounts, and packed his life into 2 suitcases. No more perfect smiles. No more pretending. No more ghosts from a digital past. Every morning, he walked to a small cafe near Pike Place Market, ordered black coffee, and wrote in a leather notebook, notes, reflections, fragments of his story. At first, it was just therapy. But soon, the words began to take shape, finding rhythm and purpose. One day, the barista, a college student named Mia, noticed what he was writing. You ever think about sharing that? She asked. I'm not sure anyone wants to hear about betrayal and lies, he said. She smiled. They don't want to hear about pain. They want to hear about how you survived it. That night, Ethan thought about it, about all the people trapped in toxic relationships, the ones who'd been broken and didn't know how to start again. He had spent months tearing down a life built on illusion. Maybe now it was time to build something honest. So he did. He set up a small YouTube channel under his own name, Ethan Miles. No fancy thumbnails, no clickbait titles, just his voice, calm and steady, telling the truth. The first video was simple. A single shot. No background music. Just him sitting by the window with a mug of coffee. The title read, How I Survived Her Lies. He spoke slowly, the way one does when the wounds have already scarred over. I used to think revenge would set me free, he said. But all it did was keep me chained to the same pain. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. It's choosing peace over bitterness, silence over noise. Within a week, the video hit 100,000 views. Comments flooded in, people sharing their stories, their heartbreaks, their own battles with betrayal. Ethan replied to as many as he could, not with advice, but with empathy. He didn't know it yet, but his quiet confessions would grow into something larger, a community of people healing together, one story at a time. One rainy evening, he received an email. Subject, You don't know me, but your video saved my life. He read it twice, tears stinging his eyes. For the first time since everything happened, he felt something real, not pain, not vengeance, but purpose. He looked out the window again. The rain was falling harder now, washing the city clean. Ethan smiled faintly, whispering to himself. Maybe this is what freedom sounds like. He closed his laptop, turned off the lights, and sat in the quiet, not the suffocating silence of betrayal, but the peaceful kind that comes when the storm is finally over. Outside, the neon signs reflected on the wet streets. Inside, Ethan Miles, once broken, once betrayed, was finally whole again.